I'm so concerned because last week we saw 21 carries, which was awesome, but we saw 64 yards on top of it. And so if he does not score, and we know that he has not found the end zone more times than not against the Carolina defense that's allowed just 5 touchdowns to running backs across the board. They have been 5 rushing touchdowns, but they don't give up a lot of production to opposing running backs. I think Gibson's in trouble here if the Washington football team is chasing points. That's when we typically see more of J.D. McKissic. In PPR, I might go with McKissic over Gibson just based on what we've seen over the course of the season. He's still not fully involved in the passing game like we'd like to see, so I would prefer to sit Antonio Gibson for this week, as you see here, part of my sits for week number 11. All right, Heath, let's go back now to your sits as well. And you got a tight end here that you're concerned about in Dawson Knox, but Dave, you like him. So give me the positive, and then Dave, you could follow with the negative. Excuse me, you give me the negative, then Dave, you can follow with positive.
I don't feel very comfortable trying to predict which weeks Dawson Knox is going to score a touchdown, and when he doesn't score a touchdown, he's absolutely useless. He has one game this season with more than 50 receiving yards, one game with more than 4 catches. He has scored 4 touchdowns. Those came in 3 games against the Washington football team, the Houston Texans, and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Colts are not a bad matchup. They're not that good of a matchup either.
They play a lot of zone defense. They've also allowed 10 half PPR points to tight ends in each of their last 3 games and in 5 of their last 7 games. Knox was open on a couple of plays last week. Josh Allen just didn't see him. Otherwise, he would have scored last week. We probably wouldn't even be having this conversation. He has more explosive plays versus zone coverage, has 3 touchdowns versus 1 versus zone, 3 versus man. He has an 89% catch rate versus zone, 56% versus man. That's what sent me over the top. I think Dawson Knox gets a little more involved than he does last week. How could he not? And I think he's worth starting ahead of Kyle Pitts this week.
I guess just the one concern would be for you is if he doesn't score and you're thinking he's going to score.
Not only do I think he's going to score, I think he sees 3 or 4 receptions as well.
I mean, he might have 3 or 4 receptions. There's a lot of guys who are going to start 3 or 4 receptions this week that aren't going to be very good for fantasy.
Yeah, the thing that'll swing it for me, and I might drop him a couple spots, is if Darius Leonard plays. If Leonard does not play, he's dealing with an ankle injury, it's easy to keep him in the top 10. If Leonard does play, you might want to downgrade him just a little bit because that's a big part of what the Colts do in terms of defending everything, but obviously trying to slow down tight ends as well. One other guy I want to bring up for the two of you is Jalen Hurts, because you like him and you don't. Dave, you like him. Heath, you don't. So again, we'll go positive, negative. So Dave, why do you like Jalen Hurts?
Well, they're taking on the Saints. Saints have been pretty clear that they are awesome at stopping the run. Running backs are averaging 2.8 yards per carry against them. That means Philadelphia is going to have to throw a little bit more, and I thought that they would last week. And they did in the first half. They were pretty balanced to begin the game. New Orleans has allowed 20 or more fantasy points to each of the last 3 quarterbacks they faced, and a rushing touchdown in each of the last 2 to quarterbacks. Hurts has given you at least 55 rushing yards each of his last 4 games. His completion rate is going up. He's looking better as a quarterback. I would like him better if Dallas Goedert were playing. Goddard's out. That makes it a little bit tougher to trust Hurts. That's why I moved him behind Tagovailoa. I actually have him ranked where you have him ranked, Jamie. He's right at 10 for me now.
Yeah, and I in that 10 to 14 range, there's not too much to argue about, but I would be happy to start 2 over him. I'd start Derek Carr over him. I'd start Ryan Tannehill over him. There are enough guys in that range. I just think we're looking at the last 3 weeks, and the week that he threw more, he threw 23 passes. He was fortunate that he had a 10% touchdown rate, so he had a good fantasy day last week. I don't have much confidence that the Saints will put up enough points, despite the fact they're good against the run. I don't think they'll score enough points to get the Eagles out of a run-heavy attack.
Yeah, that'll be the key. You know, if they have success running, and we don't know if Miles Sanders is going to play yet, the window for him to return is open, so that can maybe improve their running game. But I think it's going to be a little bit more on Hurts than we've seen the last couple weeks because of the run defense for New Orleans. So I would tend to side with Dave a little bit in this one. Would you move him up a spot or 2 if Dallas Goedert plays, or how much would that change the projections?
You know, I think I've got Joe Burrow and Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers are the guys right ahead of him, so I might move him up 1 spot, but that's about it.
And it took me so long to get him behind Tua. I don't even think I would move him back ahead of Tua if Goddard comes back.
Okay, yeah, I definitely like Tua better than Jalen Hurts, but not by much, as you saw from our consensus rankings. All right, Dave, let's talk about your sits here. And you have 2 wide receivers that, for the most part, people are starting in DJ Moore and Adam Thielen. But what's your concern about those 2 guys this week?
Well, with DJ Moore, it's that he hasn't given you even 10 PPR fantasy points in each of his last 3 games. He hasn't been above 15 PPR points since week 4. Cam is his quarterback now. We're excited to see Cam back. Can Cam throw it better than he did the last time he was the starter in Carolina? That's the question I have. He threw behind DJ Moore in his lone incompletion last week. I don't want to rush to say that DJ Moore is going to be great, especially when Cam's going to run, Chris McCaffrey's going to run. Makes me a little bit nervous to just run right back into DJ Moore's arms. He's a flex for me. And Thielen's taking on this Packers defense. You look what they just did to the Seattle's receivers last week. Thielen's going to have to score to come through in fantasy this week. I don't want to trust him.
All right, so we'll see how things go there for Thielen. For me, I'm going all in on DJ Moore this week. I think he's going to have the breakout game that we've been waiting for the last several weeks. I think Cam coming back is big, but mostly it's about this matchup. Washington is not very good against opposing wide receivers, number 2 in terms of fantasy points allowed, and now they're down Chase Young along with Montez Sweat, so Cam's going to have time to throw when he does decide to throw. I think this will be the bounce-back game that we've been waiting for DJ Moore. You see Sportsline all in on DJ Moore for sure.
That is
number
something.
9 for them in terms of their projections.